Hey, podcaster, are you ready to shake up your podcasting journey and embrace a powerful truth? Well, hold on to your hats because we're going deep into this concept of everybody can't go. Yes, I have brought on Jessi Holley, an amazing fellow podcaster who is diving deep into this concept of we can't bring everyone with us. As podcasters, we often struggle with the fear of leaving people behind or being left behind ourselves. But what if I told you that fear is holding you back from your true potential? Yeah, you gotta stick around because this interview is mind-blowing. And I'm gonna say at the end of it, I guarantee you are going to be team everybody can't go. So without further ado, let's go. Welcome to Beyond the Downloads. I'm Jen, your podcast bestie, here to tell you there's so much more about podcasting than just those numbers. So before you throw in the towel, you better listen up. We're diving deep into the heart of what makes podcasting truly special, from storytelling to connection, and yes, even healing. Think of me as your podcast life raft, ready to help you navigate those choppy waters of this podcasting world and the podcast overwhelm. From understanding the therapeutic power of sharing your voice to the practical tips to grow your show without losing your ever-loving mind. If you're ready to ditch the hustle and create content that leaves a legacy, a tsunami impact, no more ripples. Whether you're launching your first show or looking to take your podcast to the next level, I'm here to help you grow, launch, and yes, make some money from your passion. Let's make your podcasting dreams your reality. It's time to go beyond the downloads, where your story becomes a legacy. Hey, podcasters, you are in for a treat. We are talking to Jessi today, someone that I got to meet at PodFest, who has an amazing show called Everyone Can't Go.
Hey, Jen. Thanks so much for having me on today.
And it's actually everybody. I screwed up. It's everybody can't go.
Yeah, it's actually, I know that it's not proper English, but I'm like, okay, you guys look, everybody can't go. And it's like, wait, what? So, yep, it's the improper English format because we got to get straight to it so that people, they understand and realize like, hold on, what did you just say? And I'm like, yes, I said it and I meant it.
And I want to know where this came from because this has been something that I've been going through is like everybody can't go with you to your next level. I want to know a little bit more about like where'd this show come from and kind of tell me like the origin of Everybody Can't Go. Really? That's pretty bold.
Okay. So when you're talking about Everybody Can't Go Convos, the podcast, that was actually a secondary idea. So the concept of Everybody Can't Go came from me deciding to be bold, be brave, and to share my story with what I experienced, some of the negative experiences that I had and the lessons that I learned from the maltreatment that I started to be on the receiving end of once I started my growth journey and began to level up. And as I started to set goals, crush them, and I was starting to have like those tangible results, I was starting to show up different, starting to be invited into new rooms, getting aligned with new people who were on the same path that I was on. I started to notice that the friend circle that I started with, people were kind of like pulling back, and I'm still like, oh, wait, no, like we can all do this together. Like we can, everybody eats, everybody's going to be able to benefit from this. But everything came to, in my experience, everything came to a very dramatic, like this super climax where there was a lot of fighting and arguing and doxing and cyberbullying and all of these things. And eventually the friend group, there was a large separation, mass exodus. And as I started to, or continued to progress in my own growth journey, when I would go to different conferences or go to meetups and different things, when people would ask a question from the audience, I noticed that a common theme would be that there were other people who had experienced like the loss of some type of relationship, that it wasn't just romantic relationships. I'm talking about those platonic relationships that we have, and starting to experience that, friends weren't friends use that term loosely. Friends were starting to act a bit different or starting to be a little abrasive, a bit standoffish, as the person felt like they were becoming a better person and they were starting to operate in a different way, starting to communicate in healthier ways. And some of the bad habits or things about ourselves that could be challenges, as those things started to change, they were noticing that other people were kind of, not treating them so nicely. And after, I'd say, maybe a year and a half of hearing so many people in different places experiencing the same thing, and I'm like, well, obviously this is happening to anyone who embarks on a growth journey, but no one's talking about it. I'm like, we have coaches for everything. I'm like, where's that coach that talks to you about everybody can't go with you and they're not supposed to? And so I decided that I would write the book. And of course, coaches need coaches. And so when I was in the hot seat pitching the idea of my book to in front of my peers, a set of my coaches ripped me to shreds. And they're like, to be socially and ethically responsible, you're not going to take this topic, something so near and dear to your heart. You've mentored and ministered to people within this group in this room, and you're just going to write a book and leave people waiting for an entire year for the next one. What's going to happen after that? I'm like, I'm glad you asked. I have 2 sequels already that I'm going to write the sequels. And they're like, so you're going to leave people for an entire year with nothing. And I'm like, that was my plan. But it was pointed out to me that when you're talking about something so serious, like talking about digging into that guilt and grief that you feel from finally just letting go and releasing the people that don't need to be there, the fortitude that it takes to take healthy steps in between with having that healthy communication first, communicating your needs, communicating the new boundaries that you have. And then if the person or other people can't respect that, can't, move with you or grow with you so that you guys can't be malleable around each other, at that point, then sometimes you do have to do that release and it hurts. It's a grieving process. And so from there, the book became the brand and the brand became a movement. So out of that conversation and that hot seat, Everybody Can't Go, the book was put on pause, put on the back burner a bit, in favor of beginning a one-on-one and group coaching program, in favor of providing the free value on a weekly basis through Everybody Can't Go Convos, and through me collaborating with other people like yourself and going in for interviews, making sure that I have my voice out there and not just being on the pages of a book and kind of being like this mysterious person behind like the madness that became this movement.
Oh, I'm like, my heart is like all in this conversation because this is exactly why I started too. Is like, we have that story and there's so many like un-PC, that's the only way that I can explain it, conversations that we're not having. Leveling up and leaving people behind is terrifying. So you tabled the book and you brought out this your podcast, and now you're supporting people through this. But there had to be some turmoil. Like, I like the juice. Like, I want a little bit more tea about how you went from breaking down this circle, because it is so hard. We haven't had those conversations. And I see a lot of podcasters do this because they get started talking on the microphone and then all of a sudden they're like, something leveled up inside me because there's a sense of freedom. It's really hard for people to like cancel you, quote unquote, or come after you on a podcast. So you start to find your way. So I think this would be really helpful to have some of that hard conversation that people aren't talking about on the show, because I think that's a reason why so many people don't spill the real them.
Well, like in terms of let's go talk about the part about being canceled. When you're talking about a difference of opinion that is not ethically or morally wrong, I think that sometimes people fear being canceled. Please believe they tried it. They tried to cancel me. Hey, y'all. But they definitely did try to proverbially cancel me on social media, on Facebook, Instagram. They even went old school with text messages and phone calls. And with that, honestly, the way that I found out about it, because I'm one of those people that I'm like, okay, you're going to go off and cuss me out in a group chat. And it was so left field that I was like, I can't tell if this is a joke right now. Like, wait, what happened? What's the problem? I'm like, if there was something that I did or said that was offensive to you, let me know what that thing is. I mean, we can have the conversation here in the group chat in front of everyone, since it already started. I have no problem with apologizing if I've said something and it came out in a way that was too abrasive, or if I rushed through, or if I said something and it was received in a way that it's like, well, you said this about me. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I understand how the way I said what I said could be interpreted the way that it felt to the receiver. And I'm like, let's take some time and take a step back. I'm very empathetic. I know everybody says it, but I'm one of those super nice people. But that doesn't mean that I'm not assertive as well. And if I need to, I'm going to say what I have to say. Right is right and wrong is wrong. And I did make several attempts to reach out to the people who were supposedly upset, and the things that they were upset about, I never found out what those things were. And I had to take a reflection back and look at, well, really, I let you get away with murder. There were plenty of times that you did some very not okay things, and I let it slide. And during this whole like trying to cancel me, cyberbullying, doxing, whatever, my only response was, well, if you'd actually like to have a conversation, we can do that. My phone number does not change. You know where I live. You know where to find me. And if I need to pull up, I can come to where you are. And there was never any, nothing happened with like actually meeting to talk about a resolution. But that's because a resolution wasn't being sought. A solution to the issue was never being sought. The goal of this whole thing was the drama. And I've always been a person that I'm like, okay, there's reality TV to watch. If you've let that go to your head, that's fine. I'm not participating in it. Go back and forth with you throwing drinks in restaurants and like acting like you have no natural born sense. They get paid to do that. I don't. So no, ma'am, no, sir. I'm not acting a fool like that for free. And there's nothing that you can do or say to make me act that way. And we don't have a contract. We're not signed for a TV show. I'm not doing it. So we're either going to do some conflict resolution and we're going to actually talk, or as far as I'm concerned, you can kick rocks. And, I left the door open. To this day, I've never blocked anybody on socials, never blocked anybody from my phone. I have the exact same phone number that I've had since high school. We won't say how long ago that was, but just know anyone who has ever known me, ever had my phone number, they can find me and know how to find me. I mean, I'm just not that type of person. Like I'm very open and honest. If someone is ever seeking me out, you can find me. It's easy. So with the whole cancel campaign, there were, some people who enjoyed the drama. There were some people that they were like, well, how could you say this about Jessi? Like, she's super nice. There were people who, they called and they're like, well, she said this about you. And she said that you A, B, and C. And it's like, okay, yeah, I know. She said that to my face. What's your point? No, she didn't talk about me behind my back. She talked about me to my face. Well, you're going to let her talk to you like that? It was something that I needed to hear. She was helping me. That's part of the that natural inclination that I had to be a coach. I just avoided being a life coach for a long time, for being a coach of any type for a long time. I was more so concerned with consulting just in the private sector. And though I did a lot of coaching for free on the personal end, and I mostly just stuck to consulting because that is what I would get paid to do in my 9 to 5. But yeah, with me being like naturally inclined to be a giver, to be a helper, having sometimes my friends would joke, they're like, oh, you're such a grandma. Like, it seems like you've been here before like 3 times already. Why do you even know that? And I'm like, you know what? I don't know, but I'm going to learn from other people's mistakes so I can make a different set of them. So if I like observe my surroundings, if there's 5 mistakes that I saw somebody else make or 5 other people make, I'm not making any of those 5. I can find a 6th and new way to make a mistake while I'm trying to get whatever it is done and get to the goal.
That's awesome. So it sounds like this has kind of been a way of life for you. Has it been this way forever, or is this something that you've grown into?
Definitely definitely had to grow into it. I would say that as I started to write the book, I actually delve into other situations that I had an Everybody Can't Go experience, but it wasn't as dramatic and it wasn't as hurtful. It didn't involve all of the, like, we're canceling you. It didn't involve the drama and all of the harsh words and different things like that. And that's part of the reason why I started my podcast with doing interviews, because everybody can't go can manifest at different times in life and also to varying degrees. So for me, this wasn't always a way of life. It was something that it kind of came to a head with that one drama filled episode. And as I reflected on times that it had happened before, one of the things that was a commonality, whether it was kind of just, people growing apart, or like someone graduates and they graduating from college, you're moving into the work world. And then, those of us who were younger, we were still left behind on college campus. You don't have time to spend together anymore the way that you used to. Life looks different when you're starting to be a 9-to-5er. Partying and socializing looks different when you are moving up into different tax brackets. The things that you have access to in terms of using discretionary income, that starts to cause a bit of a not necessarily a divide, but a difference in what it means to go hang out on Saturday. And I had to learn over time how to navigate what those differences would start to look like. And it's not just about the people who can't go with me. Sometimes it's the people that I can't go with.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard, and we don't often think of the other side. I know that, because I just came out of a season of no, you can't come with me. No, you can't come with me. There's the door. Please leave. That there's a lot of people that I haven't been able to go with too. But those aren't the ones that I've, I don't know, those didn't hit home as much for me. But I know that that's just as important of a side of the story of Everybody Can't Go.
Yeah, very much so. I think that sometimes it's easier when you're the person that can't go, when you are self-aware. And in just talking to you and the time that we were able to spend together and chatting about our brands, you were telling me about your podcast, the audience and what you speak to and who you speak to. There's a certain level of self-awareness that I can tell that you have, and also the ability to self-assess. That's something that when people are missing those two elements, the ability to self-assess and the self-awareness, and sometimes that just being honest with yourself, because you can have both of those two first things, but still sit there and lie to yourself because that's a choice that you're making. It becomes easier to say, I didn't like that. That didn't really feel good. Or for you to just have a neutral feeling, a feeling of neutrality toward being the person that it's like, okay, this relationship, this friendship dynamic, whatever, this is not meant for me. I wish you the best. I want you to go succeed. I want you to get to your goals, but I'm not the proper fit and I can't be a part of that. I've given what I can. I've added value where I'm able to, but where you're going in that direction. I'm going in this direction, and that is okay. And I think that another part of being comfortable and solid in that type of decision is when you know what your vision is and you know where you're going. When you know what goals it's going to take for you to get to each of those milestones on the way to building your vision, you're less likely to get caught up in I just have to go with this other group where I don't fit in, or where my season with you guys is over, or overstaying at a job that it's no, it's not the place or space for you anymore. And it's okay to break away. It doesn't have to be a painful thing. And that in itself is exactly why I started the brand. That's one of the reasons why I started the brand, because the guilt and grief that we have from the separation that comes with some of these relationships, the time that sometimes we have to spend alone. Just because you're alone, it doesn't mean that you're lonely. Just because you're separating doesn't mean that you're going to be left alone and that your next tribe isn't coming. Sometimes that separation is needed for your growth, for your good. And not just for yourself, but also for those other people that you had to take that step away from.
Yeah. Oh, there's like so much in there to like unpack, because it's like you stepped away and then you came out with this everybody can't go, which is one of those, like, I call them like your flag. You plant a flag or whatever you want to call it, your stand for, I don't know, so many people call it different things, but once you stand in that, it kind of becomes like that anchor point of like everything is going to come. And that's in any aspect of your life, not just like relationships with people, but relationships with your business, relationship with your podcast, relationship with how you share your podcast. Like, I feel like that's such a great point that people need to like think about, of like, once you separate yourself, you can be that stand for, you can plant that flag and be like, okay, everybody can't go. That is powerful statement. That is like, I mean, that blurs a lot of lines, which I can see how it like ruffles some feathers, because we're taught to just be like, yes, please come with me. Please use me as a doormat. Please use me as this. Please do that. Please be on every social media platform. Please pay me for all. Like, I see that statement just like, I call it, my word for the year is dominance. So I'm like, it's like a dominance. Like, I am standing here with this. Everybody can't go. Take it or leave it. But if you take it, you can rise.
That's very true. And that's one of the things that I say all the time. You get to choose. And I mean, you get to choose. It's a broad statement because your choice is broad. You get to choose who can come with you. Well, sometimes you don't get to choose, but you get to choose whether or not, like you said, you choose whether or not you're that doormat. You choose whether or not you're going to stand up for yourself. Does that mean that you're just going to listen to my pods and participate in workshops, and I'm going to give you all of these things that you're going to go to sleep after you take your notes, and you're going to wake up and you're just going to say, dang it, I'm not going to take it anymore. And you're just going to be brave and bold. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you will over time learn healthy communication strategies, coping mechanisms, and you'll be empowered with, I'm afraid, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm nervous about saying this one thing, but instead of sitting here silent, you might hesitate for a second. I have something to say to you, and go ahead and get it out. Your hands may be shaking, your voice may crackle a little bit, but that is a step further. And that's the next level from just thinking to yourself, I don't really like the way that such and such just spoke to me. That was really mean and it hurt my feelings, but I don't want to have conflict and I don't want to get into an argument. So I'll just keep it to myself and I'll pretend that it didn't happen. Now I'm kind of starting to feel resentful that I didn't say anything about it the last time you did it. And then now you did it again. And now we're a few months later, and you're still exhibiting this behavior toward me that I really don't like it. And I'm growing increasingly frustrated with the way that you've been treating me, the way you've been talking to me, and you're continuing to escalate your behavior toward me. And I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to cause a rift. I don't want to be problematic in our relationship. What if you don't receive it well? What if you don't want to be around me? Well, all of those things that you're holding in, it's breeding resentment. It's breeding anger. And really, it's a recipe for disaster, because when you do finally have that outburst, someone else on the other side, they're doing that same thing that they've been doing for weeks, months, dare I say years. And when you have finally had it and you explode, now you're the crazy person. You're the like, oh my gosh, Jen, why would you, I can't believe that you, but when you hold all of that stuff in, it's like, no, I can't believe that and you're talking about stuff that happened from 2014 all the way up until 2024. And sometimes on that other end, the person is like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. Why didn't you tell me? And so when I say that you get to choose, you have to choose yourself. And you would be surprised at how many times when you choose yourself first, and there's something that you need to say, 9 times out of 10, the reaction isn't going to be as bad as you thought it was going to be, because people's natural intention isn't to hurt you. It's not to say things that are going to cut you. things that are going, well, maybe some stuff that's going to cut you to make you better, but their intentions aren't to stab you or stab you in the back. Their intentions aren't to just shank you with their words maliciously. And sometimes even in the way that people communicate, sometimes when you do get cut, they don't intend for those words to cut. They're just intending to give you sound advice, to be your wise counsel. And sometimes it just may not be at the time where you're able to handle a harsh reality. You may not be able to, at that point in your emotional or mental state, handle a critique. Sometimes we do just need to be coddled. We do need to be loved on. Sometimes when we're coming to someone, we just need to vent. We're not, our brain isn't ready for solution mode yet. But as a part of that, you get to choose. You have to be self-aware enough to be able to come to the conversation. And at this point, I actually will start my conversations with, like, if I just need to get something off my chest, I'm like, hey girl, what's up with you? Like, how are you? First of all, I need to vent. Do you have space? Do you have capacity for me to go off about X, Y, and Z? And, usually when you preface it with that, it's like, girl, hold on. Let me finish up this email. Let me finish up such and such really quick so I can take my lunch break, or so I can take my afternoon or morning break. I'm going to go get my coffee. Okay, girl, spill it. Like, go off. And once we get done with the end of that venting session, it's like, okay, now let's self-assess again. How do you feel after you got that off your chest? And when people come to vent to me, I'm like, okay, before you start, are you telling me because you want me in solution mode? Because that's what I'm naturally going to do. My top two things that is my based upon my assessment, my personality is this great ball of joy and solutions if there's a problem. And I want the solutions to the problem so I can get right back to being your great big ball of joy. And I have to ask, hey, are you looking for solutions, or are you looking for me to be your listener? And sometimes people are just looking for you to be that listener. And so generally speaking, most people, and I know it's debatable, but I choose to believe, I count it all joy. So I choose to believe that most people have good intentions initially, and to be empathetic in the way where we put ourselves in someone else's shoes, so that some of those things that we're internalizing that are negative, sometimes we're just internalizing some things that have not been said, some things that have not been done. And me examining things in this way was actually born out of some of those everybody can't go situations that I have been exposed to, been a part of, because I wanted to be sure one thing I ain't gonna do is be loud and wrong. If you can't tell, I'm loud. I'm loud. I'm fun. I'm full of facts. But there's a reason why when I say something, 9.5 times out of 10, I'm right. My fiance says, you know what, you're just always right. But that is intentional, because if I don't know, I will tell you, I don't know. It used to piss them clean off in those boardrooms. And it's like, hey, so Jess, this is the problem. Do you have the answers to A, B, and C? No, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Do you want me to find out? And I've never been one of those, like, let me just BS you. Like, if I don't know, I'm going to say it. If it's going to take me a sec because I'm going to research it really quick, give me a sec to get you an answer, and I'm going to get it on the spot. If I'm not going to do anything about it, you can figure it out though. You can figure it out. But like, I made sure to examine all of these things about communication from so many different angles, specifically because I don't do loud and wrong. And I wanted to be sure that in those relationship dynamics, that there wasn't more that I could have done to get to a solution, to get to a win-win for everybody. And so that is because I hold that near and dear to my heart. That's been part of what has helped to evolve the brand and give me some of that background expertise, because I want to make sure that I am saying the right thing and that I'm not the one that's out here saying mean things, being verbally or emotionally or mentally abusive to others in any capacity or in any relationship.
Yeah. And I love that. And I think that it's so related to podcasting, because like as we were talking about, like it is a platform where you can say what you want. It's hard to get canceled. We're not getting, shut down like on a lot of the social media platforms. And I think that as you're saying that, I'm like, this is one of the also things I see come up with podcasters is it's like, I have to know everything. I have to know everything. And I'm standing up and I'm doing this and I'm loud and I'm proud. But I think there's so much research that we're afraid to say out loud. Also, there's so much of that authentic piece that's like, whether it was like you're a child and you sing too much and your parents are like, if I hear the Lion King one more time, so you stop singing and you tell yourself you're terrible. And I think that like, as you're saying that, I can relate it so much to like this audience because it's like, yeah, we are all loud. We all are right because we all have that soul-centered mission. Everybody can't go. Everybody's not going to be able to follow. You're not for everyone. If you are for everyone, you are hiding most of yourself. And I love that in like your messaging and your brand, like everybody can't go. That's so true. It's such a powerful impact for any podcaster to think about. And I want you to, as you're listening to this podcaster, to like understand that everybody can't go with you. That means, niche down on your podcast a little bit more, get a little spicier in your messaging. Like this is my stand for. And maybe that's part of your strategy is learn some better communication skills with people, or at least learn better communication skills with yourself so you can stop hiding.
That part. And when you're talking about it from the podcasting aspect, I think sometimes we get so worried about the views, the likes, the subscribers, all of the numbers, all the data. And when your focus is the data instead of your topic and being you and giving your actual opinion about your topic, it causes you to show up in a way that is somewhat inauthentic. And from episode to episode, when you're showing up inauthentic, you're confusing people. Like they don't, if it's like, I don't know where you stand on this, on that. And that's not to say that every great debate that you have to shout from the rooftops how you feel about all of these different taboo topics, if it doesn't have anything to do with your audience or, arguing about politics and government and all this other stuff, it doesn't mean that you have to just go down a list of like, I do stand for this, I don't stand for this, blah, 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 blah. But coming through on the mic, coming through on video as you are who you are. And there is going to be a group of people, your tribe, who they will find you. They will find you through your voice. They will find you through your facial expressions. They will find you through as you can see, my hands just won't stop. I can put them down and try to talk, but now I look weird. It's like, why are her shoulders like that? Because I'm trying to not talk with my hands. It's like, just be yourself. And you just being yourself. I mean, how would you guys feel if I was talking to you guys like this the entire time? Like, I look awkward. And so with me looking awkward, it doesn't matter how great what I'm saying is. My body language is awkward. Even if you're only listening via audio, I can hear the inflection in my voice change as my body posture is in an awkward position. And guess what? Even though I've put my hands down to make sure that they're off camera, my hands are still moving because that is me. I'm literally with my arms straight down, but my hands are still doing this. So like, why would I put you guys through that secondhand uncomfortability, that secondhand embarrassment by attempting to communicate in a way that is not me? If you tune in, it's because one, you love Jen and you continue to listen thus far because you're enjoying the conversation that we're having. So anyone who's podcasting, your tribe is going to find you. They're going to enjoy what you're talking about. Sometimes they may not care what you're talking about. Have you ever considered maybe they just like the way your voice sounds? Maybe your voice is velvety. Maybe you have this wonderfully deep baritone that tickles somebody's eardrum just the right way when they listen to you on noise cancellation with AirPods in. Like there are so many different elements to why your followers follow you, why your subscribers subscribe to you, listen to you, partake in whatever your pod is about. And sometimes that like you just continuing with your pod is a matter of your episode just didn't reach, or your pod, that one episode that you need to drop from your podcast, it just hasn't reached the right person yet or reached that person that they need you. Someone out here needs to hear your voice. someone out here needs your message. Even if you're just kicking it back, chilling, and there's like all types of giggles, that laugh that you're providing to someone, somebody in this great wide world needs it. At this point, you're responsible for more than just who's in your local demographic. There are subscribers and regular listeners that I have in Japan. I have no idea why. It's not my business to know. There are a handful of people in Kenya and some folks in Australia that listen to me every week. What? I don't know. I continue to put my content out because obviously there is a group of people in those places where I have not yet set foot that need to hear my voice, that want to hear my voice. And obviously they've talked to some other people about my content, and a group of them are talking together about the conversations that I've had, the interviews that I've done, and the pods that I've dropped. So you literally never know how far your voice is going to reach, and you never know who needs your message, because there's literally when you are a podcaster, there's no way for you to know how far and wide, like geographically, your impact is moving and where it's getting to. Because if you were only doing like live events on stage, or, you only speak in person, you're able to affect people, 30 to 100 people. If you did a stadium, okay, 10,000 people at a time. But when you're talking about being a podcaster, you're literally available to where's the world population at? We're over 7 billion people. And I mean, even if you want to niche down to everyone who is English speaking, I listen to a ton of Romeo Santos. I am not fluent in Spanish, but I quite enjoy the music. I quite enjoy the lyrics that I only partially understand. You never know if there are people that they don't even speak English, but they are enjoying your voice. They may just enjoy looking at you, and all of the social cues and the human emotional cues that you're giving off through your body language, facial expression, all of those types of things. So if you have a podcast, keep podcasting. It's for somebody. It's for somebody else. It's for somebody.
Oh, I love that. And that leaves me you gave me the perfect lead up for what is your bold action? We're all about taking bold actions at Beyond the Downloads. So if somebody had 15 minutes this week, how could they use that 15 minutes to kind of lean into this? Everybody can't go.
So one thing that I would say is part of self-care is everybody can't go. Self-care is a big proponent in that. So I always say to take some time for yourself so that you how many times have you actually just stopped to take several deep breaths? And I'm not just talking about just in your chest. I'm talking about all the way to your diaphragm, all the way down to your belly button, doing some deep breathing. I also like binaural beats. If you haven't heard of them, get on YouTube, and whatever state that you're in, whatever you need to do next after your 15 minutes of your self time, pick the binaural beats for whether you need to concentrate, relax, reduce anxiety, any of that stuff. Listen to some binaural beats for 5 to 10 minutes and allow yourself to come back to your own center, so that when you are podcasting, when you are brain dumping, when you are coming up with new ideas for episodes, when you are reaching out to people to interview, when you are writing your newsletter, when you're writing those show notes, when you are coming up with responses to any of the comments or DMs that you have, you are able to come back to your center so that you're able to respond, show up, produce, and provide as your authentic self. Because that's what everyone is here for. That is what is needed in the world. And that is what your tribe is searching for. And so that's what you'll want to provide them.
I'm going to be taking that action, maybe daily, forever.
If you can.
I'm time for myself, time to just breathe. We always forget the simple things, those super simple tasks. Are you breathing? Mm. Hello. Yes, we need some more breaths in our life. I absolutely love this, everything. this entire conversation is like busted my mind wide open, and I see holes in my areas now. Like there's some places that I'm still trying to blend two worlds because I have a secret brand, like an alter ego brand and my brand. And I'm like, how can I not have to show up in two places? And I think everybody can't go. And my alter ego might be that person that can't go forward just from things that you said. And I am so excited to like share this with everybody out in my audience. So where can people find you to go deeper with Everybody Can't Go?
So if you guys want to go deeper, you can find me at Everybody Can't Go Convos on YouTube. You can like, subscribe, follow the channel. We drop weekly episodes Wednesdays at 10 p.m. And you'll even find some special episodes in there. We do a few drops in between just to give you guys a little surprise every now and then. And you can also find me on Instagram at Everybody Can't Go, the number 2. That's the numeral 2. Again, that's at Everybody Can't Go, the number 2. And on TikTok, you can find us at Everybody Can't Go LLC. And also,
sorry. Go for it.
No worries. I almost forgot. If you would like to subscribe to the newsletter, you can go to optin.everybodycan'tgo2.com. You can sign up for our email list. In exchange for signing up and dropping us your email, you will receive a 10-step guide to starting to write your vision. And you will receive just one email a month. I'm not going to spam you. As you can tell, I'm thoughtful of people's time and tolerance. So you can expect a monthly email that just gives you some tips, a couple of articles, and that will be a place where you'll know everything that's going on. If there are any meetups, if I'm speaking at any engagements, if you want to pop out to show up and see me live anywhere, all of those items are found in the newsletter.
And you want to meet her in person because the energy that you're feeling online in person is like 1,000 times more. And it just, I don't know. I'm like, you just have this presence around you that just makes you feel like welcomed in, like, and I was in my giant floaty, which was a little uncomfortable for me because I started stepping out and I felt so welcomed and like heard and supported. So thank you so much for that. We'll make sure to get all of your information in the show notes. Is there anything else that you would like to leave our podcasters with?
I will just leave you guys with, make sure that you're not a statistic. Keep podcasting. Don't worry about those numbers at first. Just keep podcasting.